You didn't say that it aged poorly other than some, like, particulars with, like, politics or language, but, like, as a movie editing style, even when we watched Itisdpayne, it was like, oh, there's still watchability to these. And then I watched something from the 2000s, and I'm like, why does it hurt my eyes? Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Pointless Discourse with myself, Hoppocalypse, and Itisdpayne.
The FBI's out there.
Are you saying they're not the superheroes?
No, they never been.
That's a good thing that we watched a superhero movie this week rather than an FBI movie.
In our conversations that make no sense.
It's okay. If somebody leaves a comment asking about it, we won't remember what it's about either. So that's the even funnier part.
Memories. Who needs them?
But yes, so if you are newly dropping in, we are continuing a series of spinning a wheel, and then each of us going to watch a movie that fits that prompt, and then come back and yap about it together. As I tried to segue away from the FBI. Hi guys. I mentioned superheroes, and D-Payne's prompt that we landed on is a superhero film that is not Marvel and not DC. So basically not any of the obviously popular ones.
Yeah, it's really interesting, these last two topics that we got, because the 2025 award-winning movie came out right as the Oscars are, like, for us, when at recording, the Oscars just happened. And I was thinking about this prompt, forgetting that I already wrote it. And when we rolled it, the new Spider-Man trailer dropped. Which kind of got me thinking, like, oh man, that'd be cool to watch something that wasn't that. I will say, this trailer, I don't know what's different about it. Might be just the fact I haven't watched a Marvel movie in almost 10, maybe 15 years at this point now, where that might be a little bit too long. 7 to 10 years. I'll go maybe even 12. That I was like, I kind of want to see this new Spider-Man movie. I don't know what the
draw is about this one versus...
Yeah, there's something about this one. It might be the fact that it's not all just gearing up for
another
end game stuff.
Another addition to the universe, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I heard that the Spider-Man ones were well liked and received.
Yeah, the only thing is, like, who owns the rights right now? Because I know, was it Sony fights with Disney a lot to be able to put them out?
Yeah, so Marvel, Sony still has the rights to what I remember, and Marvel/Disney really would like it back, but Sony also realizes that it's like, hey, this is this is the one thing that keeps making us money, and in our contract, all we got to keep doing is making a movie every X amount of years.
And are the games not part of that contract? Because I know what the...
they might be. I don't know.
The last Spider-Man games were really popular, right? The Miles Morales.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah, I know a lot of people are saying that, hey, if we can't get Peter Parker, just do Miles Morales in the thing. And then Sony did Miles Morales. So...
That is funny. I mean, Into the Spider-Verse was also a very popular movie.
I heard it was good. I haven't watched it. Like, I got superhero fatigue, and I will say, like, watching this movie, the movie I watched was an origin story, and I'll get into it more when we go and talk about it. But it was just like, I'm like, okay, well, it was an origin story, and I'm like, yeah, it wasn't really breaking any things, but I also have complaints about the movie I watched that doesn't have anything to really do with the writing, the editing, or just the overall story. It is just something that I literally couldn't get around.
That happens sometimes. And I mean, like, the movie I ended up watching is something that's, like, it's not necessarily been on my to-watch list, but it's one of those movies that growing up, I knew everybody was obsessed with this movie. And I joked with Strider, I was like, as an adult with a fully formed brain, I understand why everyone was obsessed with this when I was a teenager, but I'm not obsessed with it as an adult. And Strider's like, that is a very valid thing. And I was going back and forth on what to watch. I ended up watching a movie with a quote-unquote anti-hero. I figured that counted since you were willing to count Birdman. Yeah. But it's like, I think it's very interesting going back and watching like the different prompts for these movies because like unintentionally I keep finding myself watching movies from the frickin' 2000s and I'm like they just there's so many eras of movies that I feel like age so well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's like you watched what did you watch for your
I have notes.
what was it? The movies
Murder
you should watch
mystery.
before dying.
Let's
Was that
see.
one Casablanca for you?
Yes, that was Casablanca, and
Yeah,
you watched
like
Get Out.
yeah, Casablanca like feels like that era of filmmaking where like you could keep watching those movies. Like they did
Mm-hmm.
you didn't say that it aged poorly other than some like particulars with like politics or language, but like as a movie editing style, even when we watched Ida Lupino, it was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
there's still watchability to these. And then I watched something from the 2000s and I'm like, why does it hurt my eyes?
I'm like just going through our lists right here. I think, and this isn't like, I know some people, like if we had people that were going to take clips out of context, they would have been like, oh, D-Payne doesn't like Hop's movies that she chooses or things less. It's like, no, it's just, it's our own choices and all that stuff. But it's like, let's see, you have Jaws. I don't know when Nausicaa Valley of the Wind came out.
That's an older Ghibli film. Let me see.
Yeah. Was that 80s?
Um 1984.
1984. I think your oldest movie was probably Barbarella. Wasn't that 60s or 70s?
Yeah, 60s or 70s, yeah.
Yeah. But then, like, a lot of your movies, it's just like, because for people who don't know, I keep record of it, not so like, oh, let me go and find out everything. It's just so when I edit stuff later. What's really funny is the substance. I couldn't read my handwriting, and I was like, what the heck did I write? And then I had to go back into the video and just like, oh, yes, that. But like a lot of your movies are from the 2000s or like
It's either
let's see,
2025, 2000, or
since
like
or just like
older.
90s or
Yeah.
90s 80s. And like I'm looking at mine and it's just like once again it's not so much like how my movie selection is better or anything. I'm just like I have chaos brain in like looking at all mine where it's just like it's like Perfect Blue, which that I think was from the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Fargo was in the 90s. Little Shop of Horrors 90s. Colossal, I think it was early 2000s. Alone in the Dark early 2000s. 12 Angry Men, that was I think 50s. Casablanca was 50s. Chef was 2000s. Last Starfighter was 80s. Dungeons and Dragons, we'll just skip that. And it's like
That's also 2000s.
yeah, I know.
I feel like I've watched a lot of movies in those like aughts years, and I'm like, why do I keep watching? Why do I keep watching them?
Now, I will give a caveat for that. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's just like the 2000s was when I started getting a little bit more freedom in my life, and that's one of the things was watching a lot of movies. So if I like I've already watched a lot of movies that I probably would have put on this list that would probably fit that are already in that time period.
Okay.
So, and I don't know. It's like one of those unspoken rules that I'm giving myself where it's like, I don't want to, I'm trying to spend as little money as possible renting. Like, I don't, unless, I think I only rented twice, which was Perfect Blue. Oh, no. Perfect Blue, the earlier ones I know I did. Perfect Blue, Fargo, and Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah, but I'm not surprised you had to rent
Yeah.
Perfect Blue because it's one of those movies where it's like, because it's a foreign film, it has some
Yeah.
like additional things to it.
Yeah, and then I also had to rent. I thought there was something. Oh no! The Last Starfighter. I had to rent that one as well.
Yeah, one of those quirky movies that nobody's actually going to host
Yeah.
on their server.
But it was fun. It was fun looking up this movie. I will say I did not get to watch it the way I wish to watch it, but I don't know. I'll save. It might be that might be a good transition to
Rolling some dice.
roll our dice. Just like we roll a wheel, we roll some dice. I don't choose the die. Wait, do I?
No, it's
you
my
do.
turn.
Yeah, no, I was trying to. I'm like, who goes first? Who goes second? What's over there
Uh,
eating cheese?
Looking at the current list, I'm gonna pick a D8 because it seems like we haven't rolled those in a little bit.
I like D8s.
Yeah, nice and pointy. But yes,
Yep.
so we
I dropped
rolled.
it.
Don't step on it. So we rolled dice. We're big fans of tabletop RPGs and things like that. We did have a week where we tried to watch a movie adapted from a board game or TTRPG. You mentioned the title, so we'll see how good the listeners are listening. And we have a bunch of rules to see who goes first and if the loser gets to do anything about the wins or losses or things like that. We'll see how it goes. So let me roll my dice. And lowest will be going first in order of talking about what movie they watched. And you don't have to worry about spoilers since we're going in assuming that we haven't watched each other's movies and that it's more of just see if we can...
Selling the movie.
Yeah. So
I rolled a very middling roll.
I did not, so you might be going first this time.
Oh no. What did you roll?
A 7.
Oh, I am going first. I rolled a 4. That means I got to come up with a joke, and you got to come up with a rule. The nice part about this is that if we keep doing this, we stay out of the very self-complicated system that we put ourselves in.
I know.
So for anyone who doesn't know, we have a very complicated rule system, just like most TTRPGs that have rules that don't make sense. We are taking part in that tradition, and this is probably my fault. But it's the loser, whoever loses the die roll, will that has to come up with a rule that will be added to our ever-growing list. And if you guys wish to know those rules, just scroll down to the description before I am putting every rule in there. There is one rule that I think both of us are aware of, and we're not actively shooting for. We might maybe in the middle of the year when we have like 30 some rules, where if we go over an hour and 15 minutes, all the rules that we set up are reset. Did I give you enough time to think of a rule? That sounds like a no. This reminds me of, I think it was 2 episodes ago when your internet gave out and I was just rambling and about your movie, and then I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I took the last like 3 minutes of your time," and then
No response. Yeah.
yeah, and the way I edited it is just like, "Oh, I guess it's good I kept rambling because Hop just lost her internet," and then it cuts because as soon as I say that, that's when it all goes to one screen, and then you just come back afterwards.
Yeah, there's one time I lost internet. There's the other time I lost power. I think someone sent me a news article that we think that the reason I lost power that one time was because a drunk driver had knocked out like an electrical line and caused like, the whole system to have that like big power surge. And that's why we like completely lost power and then immediately came back up and we were like, that was weird. Because it made like a terrible noise and we thought somebody blew something up nearby, but yeah.
But I do like your rule. It will be. We're not doing it this time. We would have to start right away.
We would be sprinting. But yeah, I added the rule if we go under 50 minutes for whatever reason, the winner gets to remove one rule. So now we're just writing rules for each other to lessen the rules that we have.
Yeah. So we'll see. We're not making it too easy. It has to be something that we actually have to try for.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I rambled and now I have to come up with a funny. So let me write down the time here. And let's see. So, yeah, so my movie that I watched, I had a tough time finding out what movie I wanted to watch because there was some that I saw that on some of the lists that were interesting, but I was like, I'm not really sold on it. And one of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to go international. I wanted to watch something that wasn't American. And so, which also made looking around a little difficult. Because some movies just weren't on streaming services. Some things just wanted you to pay money for. And some just looked like trash. So, the movie, when I finally found it, it was hard to find. And the one that, but finally, after a long, long time, I found it, and I watched an Italian movie called The Invisible Boy.
Oh, I would have never have known about this. Go on, go on.
Yes. Oh, I got to start my time now. That was my joke. Hard to find. Ha ha ha. He he he. Time started. All right. It is, yeah. So it's Italian. I am not going to try to, say the Italian word for this, because the only one that I can get close is invisibile, and it's like iorazzo or ragazzo. I don't know. I don't speak Italian. I am Italian somewhere in this hodgepodge of origins, but yeah. So essentially, the Invisible Boy, Italian movie, and it is coming of age and a superhero origin story, and pretty much the main character we're following, Michele Solenzi, he's 13 years old, bullied, has a crush on some random girl that's in there. And unfortunately, he doesn't know how to communicate, and so what he does is kind of secretly records her on his phone. Yeah. So now I will say it's not like if he does anything weird, it does not go down that route. But anyway, so he's going there, he gets bullied, and they're going to have a Halloween party. So he wants to dress up as a superhero, and he goes almost like like Gremlins. He goes down this random like alleyway to some Chinese store, and this guy comes out. He's like, "Yeah, here's this costume. It's a famous superhero from China. I forget the name they say," and it's just like. So he puts it on. He looks like an idiot, but he's like, okay, I'm going. And earlier in the movie, like, he gets caught with a cell phone, and the teacher takes it. And when he's at the party, he's finally talking to a girl that he has a crush on, and they're like, yeah, cool, and it's just like, okay, that's fun. And then all of a sudden, like, the TV is playing all the videos he recorded.
Oh.
And the bullies pretty much found his cell phone, broke into it, and took all the videos. And just like, why don't you ask him? And he, rightfully so, freaks out, runs away, and everyone in the school kind of like ostracizes him and just like, oh, you're an idiot. So he's super embarrassed, and stays home, and he wakes up the next day. Like, he wishes that he's like, I wish no one would be able to see me and all this stuff. He wakes up the next day invisible. Like, like his clothes aren't invisible. And he's like, so he's like freaking out. Like, is this puberty? Like, what's going on? His mom, who is the police commissioner, comes in. Because, like, there's another story going on where there's these other students that are around his age that are being stolen, like being kidnapped. I guess stolen is another word for it, but and so she's on this case trying to find out what's going on, and yeah, so she's not home a lot, just due to the stress of all this work and everything, and so she comes in to check in on him, and he's invisible, so he's like standing naked in his room because his clothes aren't turning invisible, and he's like, I left, but the dog can see him and is like barking at the wall. And the mom's like, "It's just art. What are you doing?" And so he like bundles all up, goes to school, and is like, what am I gonna do? And so in 13-year-old fashion, he lived, especially as a bullied kid, he goes and gets revenge against his bullies. Which this is something that like it's definitely, you could tell it's not an American movie because well, besides like I think they're in Venice or there's shots of Venice that where one of the bullies has an air paintball gun shaped like a shotgun that he just takes into school and is just blasting away at him in the beginning of the movie. And so when he's invisible, like he's just standing there, like it does like cuts off so you don't see anything sensitive, but he's just standing there and just naked in his classroom, just walks up, pulls the paintball gun out of the kid's backpack while he's listening to music and just shoots at the teacher and then throws it in his hands.
And, to get him in trouble.
Yeah, okay. And he gets suspended from school, and he's like, "I didn't do it." Like, what the heck? And then his other bully, some like tennis star or anything, and he goes and messes with his tennis match, and like he pushes him whenever he's trying to do the serve, which it's not very clear because it's like the middle of winter. They make multiple comments like there's the Halloween party, and then it's the middle of winter. But
he's
when they're having
tennis,
yeah, like he's playing tennis, like he's in a tennis match, and it's like he's not bundled up. He's wearing like normal tennis gear and all that stuff, and so I'm like, that's a little weird. But anyway, they have that. And then
is that the one thing you couldn't get over?
No, I'll get in there. And then the last thing was he like normal movie 13-year-old stuff. I'm invisible. He sneaks into the girl's changing room and is just sitting there. He's just like, wow. And he's like, this is the best day ever. And then someone throws a towel over him and everyone just sees his outline. And then conveniently, his invisibility goes away and he's just sitting there naked in the middle of the girl's dressing room. And his mom's like, you can't do that. What were you thinking? He's like, I don't want to talk about it. It's like, I bet you don't. So, not winning his case of being a normal human. But yeah, so from there, the movie continues as he kind of learns about his abilities and trying to figure out what to do. There's this random girl that's there that like pretty much the nanny of the house, like it's her daughter, and is just, she's younger than him and is a bit of a jerk, but it's like it's like the only person that knows that he has these powers because she tricked him a little bit, because he's like, can you leave my room, as he's like all like bundled up because he's invisible and he doesn't know how to activate it or turn it off. And she finds out. And so, like, they kind of do a little bit of, like, okay, how do we do this? He's like, you got to go help people. You got to do this. You got to go say... And eventually, the way the movie goes, like, this is, like, about halfway, and I'll stop talking about the plot. Here is the girl that he has a crush on gets stolen. Like, he has this moment where he's, like, all frustrated, and he's out swinging on a swing, and he begins making... Like, he starts making friends with this girl, but she doesn't know who he is because he's invisible. And and so, yeah, so the girl says, yeah, I don't have a lot of friends, and so starts having friends with the invisible version of him, and he's going to go tell her, and she's like she's a gymnast, and when he gets to the school, and he's like, which I think good on him, like, because most of these things, like, no, I can't tell unless I have to. And he's like, no, I got to do the right thing. I got to tell her I'm the person you're talking to, especially like I was naked in the girls' locker room. You literally saw all the like videos that I was shooting of you on my phone, and so it's So he's like, okay, no, I gotta do what's right and let her know. And when he goes there, he sees this masked person carrying her unconscious out of the school, and like he tries to fight to get her back. And from there, he's like, okay, I need to go find out what's happening and find out where, like, because like one of his bullies, who's the tennis player, he gets kidnapped as well. And so, and then like he learns where he gets his powers from and everything from somebody, and it's a little bit generic front door, but I don't have a problem with it. But as I said, the movie I think was fun. I don't think it's a terrible movie. I think it was a good movie. I will say there is a second one, and I am interested in watching the second one. I was going to watch it today, but I fell asleep on the couch, so I didn't watch it. Yeah, so at some point I think I would like to watch the second one, because it is a fun story, and it feels like a bit of a fresh air, because it's not like this is part of a bigger universe. This feels like, no, that like it is part of something bigger, because like we learned that there's other people that have superpowers, and but it's contained. It's not like Marvel or DC, where it's like, I farted and now I turn green, and or I'm an alien from Mars and creepy. Which it's like, hey, they created the genre, so I'm not going to hate on Marvel and DC too much, but to be honest, like I feel a little bit tired of the movies that are coming out from them. So this one, like, even though they made a second one, I don't know if there's a third one in the works or not, but they definitely left it open and made the second one. And and the thing is, I wish I could say that their acting was good. The problem is I don't know, because I could not find a version that wasn't dubbed in English.
That's
and
annoying.
The dubbed in English was so terrible.
Oh.
Like, it was so bad. Like, it felt like they were just like, it's like, Mikkel, I'm here to tell you where you're from. And it's just like, this doesn't sound convincing at all. Yeah, it's just like, it almost felt like they found a really high quality text to speech model, algorithm program, whatever they're called now, and just fed the lines in there. It's like, give me man, give me woman, give me boy child, and woman child, or girl child, whatever. And it's just like, it's the reading is so like bleh. And that it's I tried to find it multiple different ways to see if I could find a
like you
version.
could just watch captions, kind of like when you watch Parasite or
yeah. But Tubi didn't have it, Fossum didn't have it, and I only had so much time before I had to leave yesterday. So yeah, it was just one of those things like, hey, this is what I got to deal with. Like, this is what I got. I just got to move forward with it. I will say, with the dub being so terrible, it did not take away, like, the story, I think, was still fun. I think.
Okay.
So, and like I'm just thinking of what is it? Shoot, my brain is blanking now. The story graph stuff. You know, it'd be fun if there was like a movie graph or something like that, so that way we could see what it would recommend for our crazy watching for the podcast. But anyway, yeah, like with all that, it was like the story, like as I said before, it's not like it broke new ground. But the nice thing is that it didn't feel like it was pulling from other, like, it was probably inspired by other superhero stuff, but it wasn't pulled from other like like people with invisibility powers or coming of age stories. Like if you're doing a coming of age story, it's like you kind of have your formula.
Right.
But it didn't. This movie, like, it felt like, as I said, the only part that felt terrible was the dub, and it ruined the watching experience for me. But it didn't make me just stop, and like the story and the visuals and everything else was there to the point that I kept watching despite of the
bad
dub.
dub.
Yeah. So that's why I think on Tubi and Fossum they have the Italian version for the second one, which I am interested in.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I won't know and all that stuff. But
Do we have something on the wheel for a sequel? Probably, maybe.
I don't know. Yeah, there probably is, and I don't know. I can look through it, but yeah, it's yeah. Overall, though, it's like because while doing that, the way they talk about like where people are getting their powers and stuff, like there's the person, which is a little bit of a spoiler, so I'm not going. Well, not a little bit. It is a spoiler. Like who's kind of giving him information. Tells him like, no, there's a price to pay for these powers, and it's like you just discovered them, and you yeah, it's like you'll know what the price is later. Like no one gets these powers for free. So he's just telling him like, look, use them, help people, like you're gonna do it anyway, but I'm warning you, like you're gonna learn what the price is. It's too early. It's different for everybody depending on the power.
Gotcha.
And it doesn't really go into that, but like there's stuff from there, and at the very end that is like, oh yeah, they definitely left it open for a second movie, and I don't know if there's a third, but in the end it was just like there was that, and then there's something else I wanted to mention about the movie overall, but yeah, overall, like as I said, besides the dub, like it felt like all the characters in this movie were grounded.
Okay.
The 13-year-old, like all the like 13-year-olds in the movie, like it just says that they're 13. I don't know if they're actually 13, but like they felt like real children, and reacted. The bullying felt a little over the top, but
I mean, having the kid carrying around like a mock shotgun is a lot.
Yeah, and it's I don't know how, and the thing is, like, he's on the school steps with it, just like, yeah, and just like shoving in the backpack, and like no one says anything. I mean, I'm just like, what the heck? But yeah, so it's just like pretty much all the kids in the movie are like they do, like, besides like some of their behaviors, like besides that, the bullies who feel a little bit out of this world, they like the girl that he has a crush on, Mikkel, they all seem like real people for their age. Their mom, Mikkel's mom, who's the police commissioner, she doesn't seem like someone that's just married to her job, like, and everything. It's like she has her own stuff and weight and like of life that's going on. It's not just the case, and she, as a single mom, is trying to figure out how can I, like, my son is changing and I don't know why, and it's not just he has superpowers, it's because she doesn't know. it's just like, why is he acting different? Like, he's never appeared naked in the girls' room, in the changing room for like. He never showed that behavior. He's disappearing. He's getting all like edgy. All this stuff. Like what's going on? And, like, she's talking with her mom about it. Just like, what? It's like, I don't understand. And then there's like other people that you're just like, that guy is obviously evil. and so it's I will say, like, the dub is the worst part of the movie, but it's just like, I think it does a really good job at doing a twist that doesn't feel like it's unearned, because it gives you information, but it's just like, you don't realize the extent of the information you're given until things are revealed. It just sucks that it's just like, Mikkel, why are you walking around naked? And it's like, it's the middle of winter. How dare you? So, yeah, that was the worst part. My time is up, but I would say, even with the dub, it is a rough watch for the start, and then when the dub really kicks off, it, like, I forgot about it after a little bit, but then once things got going, I was like, okay, I kind of, like, unfortunately got used to it, and then there's other parts where it's just like, ugh. But if people can find it in Italian, I think the movie is worth watching, even if you have to watch it in the terrible dub.
Okay.
So, and if I watch the second one in the near future, I'll let you guys know briefly what I thought of it.
That'll be
fun. But that was mine, and now it is yours.
My turn. So, caught me mid-yawn.
You're welcome.
But, yeah, I didn't go out seeking anything completely unique for myself. That does sound fun, like, trying to challenge yourself, not only something you haven't seen before, but, like, to really not have that Marvel DC influence to go like a foreign film. Mm-hmm. What I did was pick a movie before the MCU existed. So I watched The Crow.
I almost watched The Crow. It was The Crow, and then I think another movie. Shoot, hold on, I have it right here. Fast Color. Those were the two I was looking at, and then I just didn't feel like opening up a canopy. So.
Oh, The Crow was on Hoopla. But in any case, if
yeah.
your local library has that as a resource, always a great way to access media. But in any case, yeah, so I watched The Crow, and like I kind of mentioned before we started yapping, is when I was a teenager, I have dyed hair now, so you could probably guess what kind of teenager I was and what kind of friend circles I had. But a lot of people I knew growing up really loved this movie, and I don't know, for whatever reason, I know for a long time when I was younger, I had the whole thing where I was like, well, if it's popular, it's probably overhyped, so I don't need to watch it. You know, like a little stinker. But yeah, so I never got around to watching it. I was looking at different hero films, and I saw this pop up, and he is definitely what I saw described as an anti-hero. And I know I was complaining about watching movies from, like, the 2000s and how they all have a similar, like, feel to them. I correct myself. This came out in 1994. But the editing style of it, like, and the edginess of it, it definitely feels like a 2000s movie to me. Like, the way I was thinking about it is, so what we have in the movie is, it's almost like the setting is a character in of itself. Except the way that they decided to set up this city, and it feels very much like how people treat Gotham in the Batman comics, where everything is like terribly lit. It's always raining. Everyone's upset. Every building is black, dreary, hard to see in, and like very like cold. And it makes sense for the sake of the film. But I didn't realize until I read a little bit that The Crow is actually based off of comics. Which kind of makes sense as far as when it comes to, like, the quote-unquote, like, how I said it feels just, like, edgy and all of that. But basically what we have in the movie, and I'll especially not spoil it since you said this was something that was, like, on your list. And I think it is still a fun movie, even if it might not be a movie that I'll revisit. But basically, what you have is, I'll quote the very beginning of the movie because it kind of sets everything up. And even in
I
the
will say,
quotes,
there's the other reason I don't watch it, because I think I watched like the first third of the movie.
that's
So,
fair.
but go ahead.
Yeah, so the first lines of the movie is like the voiceover from a character as you're panning into like a grungy city. It says, people once believed that when someone dies, a crow carries their soul to the land of the dead. But sometimes something so bad happens that a terrible sadness is carried with it and the soul can't rest. Then sometimes, just sometimes, the crow can bring that soul back to put the wrong things right. And that's kind of like the whole premise and setup of the movie. I think Strider said most times they'll call this thing like a revenant if it's like in stories where it's a vengeful spirit that's back to fix things. So we follow. I'm trying to remember. So there's Eric Draven, who is the character that becomes the crow and is brought back by the crow, and all because his. I think they're married, or they were gonna get married, but the person that he loves, Shelley, was brutally murdered. Terrible things happened to her, and in the city that they lived in, they find different reasons as to why maybe she was attacked. Maybe it wasn't just a random attack and things like that. But you very quickly get kind of like flashbacks in the main character's head of the terrible things that was happening to the girl that he loved, where people attacked her in her own home, they brutalized her, they did sexually assault her, and then spoilers, killed the Eric Draven character. What I will also say is in the scenes that you see in the beginning of the film, did end up actually killing the lead actor. I don't know if you were aware of this.
Yes.
Who is Bruce Lee's son. Strider ended up looking it up for me while I was driving around and we were on the phone together. Basically, one of the early scenes, I guess, just from how it's edited, but from one of the earlier scenes when they show it, there is a prop gun used and shot at a very short range. And at one point, they put in basically like a dummy round with like powder and stuff in it just to make it. I forget what the purpose of the dummy round was. And then later, they decided to put a blank in it. Well, they didn't clean out the dummy all the way. So when they shot the blank does have projectile powder in it. So some of the plastic from the dummy round was launched at the speeds of like an actual bullet, and because it was short range, it like pierced, I believe, his abdomen or something. So the end of the movie does end with a slide that says like dedicated to and has his name on it. But yeah, so and he died young. I think he was 28 during the filming of this. So yes, so we see like a bunch of flashbacks of terrible attacks on this couple. And you also see, like, you get the other side of the story where there's, like, this cop who's like, man, I just want to right the wrongs in this city. And he keeps getting punished by the police system where they're like, every time you stick your nose in different business, you get us in more trouble. You should just bring us the bad guys. And then, but the cop is, like, the kind of cop that's like, well, I want to know the truth. And they're like, we don't have time for the truth and all this stuff. And they kind of imply that he keeps getting demoted because he keeps caring too much about cases. And they just want him to, like, bring people in or solve things as fast as possible. But he seems to get really into the case when he realizes people that he thought were dead are no longer dead. Because this particular cop is the one that was there on the scene for the murder investigation. And so we have the one side where you have the revenge soul brought back to life who's going around seeking revenge via any means necessary. And he kind of does like the poetic deaths where he kind of kills them the way that they attacked him and his loved one. Then you have the cop who's like, oh, I'm putting the pieces together now that like he's going on revenge plots. I'm getting more evidence and working with him to try and actually arrest the right people. And then you have this younger girl whose mother is not really taking care of her for most of the movie, but she was close to the main couple and is kind of like mixed into all of the trouble that the city has to offer. And then you also have the general evil guys that are, I guess he's kind of like a gang leader kind of scenario. I was a little confused on like who exactly he is in all of it, other than just like one of those comically evil guys where you're like, I get that you're a bad guy, but you have nothing else going on, but you're just bad. like all the things you say are bad things and all you do are bad things.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like rooting for his downfall, right, for the whole thing. But yeah, so we follow kind of like those different like chopped up storylines where you learn a little bit more about Eric Draven and his girlfriend or fiance than what they were in the city, mixed in with learning a little bit more about the cop, and then learning a little bit more about each of the guys that attacked her, because the movie is kind of like a lot of action scenes of him going from person to person to person and chasing them down and having, I mean, now, like I said, being a full adult, I can see where people would say, like, oh, this is so romantic because he's here to avenge her because they love each other so much. But, like, overall, I thought some of it was a little, like, like a little edgy in terms of, like, he always had something to say in the end. He always had, like, that one-liner. He always had, like, some trick shot and things like that. And he even does his face up in makeup, too. And, like, I can see how he fits a particular aesthetic, especially with, like, how grungy they make the city look. But, and I can see how a lot of teenage girls would be like, oh, he's so hot. And I'd be like, he's kind of weird. But, realistically, he is brought back from the dead with only one goal in mind. So, like, how normal can you really be? And they also give him this, like, weird subset of powers where he kind of, like, retains memories and can gather memories from people.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, at one point, I was kind of confused because when he first kind of, like, reanimates, he sits there and has, like, flashbacks of things he was, like, kind of witnessing happening. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. And that instead of doing, like, the info dump on the user, it's that 2000s flash editing of, like, screaming attacks, flash, really fast editing.
Mm-hmm.
But then they have the so I assumed it was just him, like, regaining memories, but then he went to the police officer and, like, touches his face and goes, oh, you stayed with her the entire time, thank you for sharing your memories with me and proving to me that you're a good guy. And I was just like, wait, he can just, like, transfer memories by touching people's faces? So
he's Vulcan.
So there's a point at the end of the movie where he uses that again, and I like that whole sequence. I thought was, like, a little cheesy. Like, I get the morals of it, right? Like, why he dealt with a big baddie the way he did, but at the same time I was kind of like, okay, guy, everybody else you kind of, like, had this whole spiel for, and this feels like even longer than that somehow. But overall, like, it's definitely fun. It's definitely flashy, and it's definitely not boring. And I think, despite me saying, like, it's one of those movies that I think probably is easily something you could become obsessed with if you were, like, more of, like, a young adult kind of thing. Just because some of the themes are a little more grandiose. Because, like, I think the final lines in the movie, if I skim over it right, basically explain how, or maybe it's not exactly the final lines, but there's some line in it towards the end where it's like, you know what keeps us alive? True love. And as long as you remember each other, then you'll never die. And I was like, yeah, that is a bit of a younger way. Like, I guess I could see where as an adult that might be comforting, but I can see where as a teenager you'd be like, oh, I'm obsessed with that. I need to find a guy who, like, loves me that much and would do all of this for me. And I think that's where my teenage friend group was like, I want my own guy who's like the Crow. And I was like, watching it as an adult, I'm like, there's circumstances of which that this happens. I hope you never have to find a guy where you guys have to go through all of this. But I guess I can see where you'd be, like, romantic about it. But yeah, I think one of the quotes, that made me think it was really, like, I could tell that it was gonna be cheesy kind of from, like, the beginning. And I'm not gonna say cheesy, like, negatively, but, like, cheesy as in it makes sense for, like, a mid-90s movie. There's a scene where the guy, he's knocking on a door, and he's like, all you see is his outline, and the guy behind the counter is like, leave! I told you to just leave! I'm not opening the door! And then he gets let in, and the quote he says is, suddenly I heard a tapping, as if someone gently rapping at my chamber door. I was like, you're really just gonna quote, like, Edgar Allan Poe? It feels a little bit on the nose. especially when
Mm-hmm.
the movie is called The Crow and not The Raven. But who am I?
They're the same.
And then the guy behind the counter is like, "What are you talking about?" And the quote back says, "You heard me rapping, right?" It's like that's not a comeback. That's just so I don't know. It was I I don't know. It was a lot more action than I think I had personally anticipated because the people I grew up with, I thought it was gonna be like a really like kind of more like sappy, emotional type of movie, kind of like Twilighty, not necessarily, but that's what I thought I was going into. And
Mm-hmm.
instead, this definitely feels like that mid '90s, early 2000s, just discovered special effects, just discovered CGI, but likes the aesthetic of more of like the black and the grungy city, and they were like, let's combine it all into a movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I can uh, I can see how maybe if I had watched it right on release, maybe it would have been a little bit like more of my thing, because I guess when you really think about it, this kind of like action subgenre of a movie was really popular around that time period.
Yeah. It's well, when you were saying what Strider was saying, it's like, yeah, he's technically called a revenant. I'm like, would RoboCop be considered a revenant?
Mm.
He's a cyber revenant. But yeah, I do remember because let's see, when did this come out? 1993, you said, or four?
94, yeah.
94. Yeah. So I I think I remember people mentioning it in high school, but I was just like, okay. And then I remember when I was working, people were talking about The Crow, and like when I started working, like people were like, "Oh yeah, it's a good movie" and all that stuff. And then I think I tried watching it, and then I was just like, the first, like I just wasn't getting pulled in to it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, but I also forgot to mention is
Mm-hmm.
watching the movie felt like listening to some of the playlists that I did listen to in high school. So I'll just list off some of the bands that are on the soundtrack. So there's The Cure, Stone Temple Pilots, Violent Femmes, Nine Inch Nails, Rage Against the Machine. Let me see, Pantera, like a lot of like music like that. That's I think also probably inspired a lot of the costuming, because I'm sure if you looked at pictures, it's a lot of
Mm.
tight black, leather esque outfits, a lot of makeup adjacent to that.
Yes, yeah, I did see that as well. Like the just, I remember whenever I think of The Crow, it's just like Kiss cosplay.
I can see that. In some other ways, I also felt like the movie had like, you know how some movies we'll watch and we say that like they seem to have like transition scenes where like they're trying to like convey that like, oh, there's a scene change, but they put something in between, kind of like a loading screen in a video game. And
Mm-hmm.
this, it felt like music videos were used as the in betweens. So like sometimes they would play the music and they'd be dramatically running on roofs, and then you'd get set up for the next scene. Another time there was a band performing a song live, and then it zoomed out to show that you changed scene, that you were now in a different like building relating to the criminal activity.
Mm-hmm.
So like I can also see where people were probably into it because it feeling like interconnected music videos all set in like the same city with all the same people. So yeah, it does definitely have neat stuff to it. And I think if it was on your like maybe I'll watch it list, I think giving it a watch is still fun.
Mm-hmm. Who knows? Maybe we'll get the option that says, watch what the pretty much we have to watch each other's movie from the previous week from this week. That's
It's
on there
true.
somewhere.
I'm surprised we haven't landed on that. Your first suggestion for this wheel we haven't landed on yet, which is a significant other suggestion.
Yeah,
One day. One day.
we'll,
Uh,
we'll get
how
there at some
much?
point. How much time
How
you got
much?
left?
Yeah.
You got just shy of 3 minutes.
3 whole minutes. Man, I
Yeah.
didn't even take up my whole time. I guess what else? So if I had to say like who I think this movie would be for, I think if you're into action and things like that, I think there is lots of action, and I think it does do well as an anti-hero movie because there are some scenes where in order to reveal like he's basically undead, like we said, like a revenant, he'll do really chaotic things. Like the characters have pistols and shoot at him. And one of the scenes, he has like a hole in his hand, and he looks through his hand through the hole and starts laughing maniacally at them. And then the guy who shot him is like, "Wait, what's happening?" And he's just laughing at him, and you watch like the hand like heal really fast, and like stuff like that is kind of like. I wonder if I was younger if I would think it's cool, but as an adult, I'm like, that's actually kind of really silly. Like if you like taking that much time to taunt the guy. But realistically, he is trying to give them the biggest scare factor because of the circumstances that he's trying to avenge for. I guess it is worth making them as scared as possible of you before you just murder them. But yeah, I think if you don't mind it being a little cheesy and some of the graphics being a little dated, and again, it's that thing that I think I've mentioned in another episode where I feel like editing styles are also interesting to notice between different eras of movies. This has that really fast-paced editing that at some points my brain was like, please stop flashing for like 2 seconds. Kind of like, oh, I'm trying to remember. Maybe The Cell did it where because they're brain diving all the time. But like when characters have headaches and they show the character like leaning over and then they just do flashes of a bunch of really fast imagery and you're just like, eh. Oh, they did it also in what did I watch the other week? The space movie. Edge
Event Horizon.
Event Horizon, yes. They do that a lot there as well. So it's kind of like a certain editing style where I'm realizing as I'm older that big flashing lights are actually not fun to have shown to me over and over.
Just like, ah!
Maybe I have the headache and I'm leaning forward.
I don't want to feel what they're feeling. Well, I have a question for you, unless you had something else to add.
No. Yeah. The only thing is like, I think the more I think about it, the more I'm like, well, that's silly. But if you just go in without thinking about it too much, it's a solid movie.
Yeah. So the time ended, but I thought this would be a good question because I think a lot of people, especially if they are only Marvel DC watchers, when they think anti-hero, they think Deadpool. Now, would you say I don't know how much Deadpool you are familiar with. So if
I am familiar with Ryan Reynolds.
Deadpool.
Yeah.
I think
familiar is loose. When I say familiar is like the Deadpool that I imagine is that whole I think farts are funny and I'm sarcastic, but I don't take myself too seriously. And like that I'm is like, sure, I guess. And I understand that his actual comic book character has, like, that's meant to cover up a whole bunch of other things that he's hiding from.
Yeah.
But I feel like people that are fans of Deadpool don't pay attention to that and just go, haha, burritos and fart jokes.
Yeah. You're right. So, pretty much I was curious if, like, because I, once again, didn't know how much of Deadpool you were familiar with, if it was like, because I know there's because I think the other side of it for anti-hero would be Punisher. And so I was just,
it is a shame that Punisher has been co-opted, but it is what it is. People are silly. They don't have media literacy. But I guess if I had to put the Crow character on a range from like type of anti-hero, when I was watching it, it almost felt to me kind of like I know there's like different alternate universes that always like explore this kind of concept, but in some ways it was kind of like Batman x Joker, where it felt like the character in The Crow, Eric, is he has a soul to him because there is, like I said, there's a young girl character who they were kind of taking care of because her mom's not taking care of her. So he has a big soft spot for her and is protective of her and everything like that, in the way that like Batman slash Bruce Rain. Sorry, the big tagline for The Crow is something about rain. Where is the phrasing? Oh, I don't have it now.
I can see if I can find it for you.
I can't rain all the time.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, but yeah, Bruce Wayne, they have like the Robins that they are like paternal over, right? They want to take care of him, they want to protect him, give him the best that he can. So he has kind of like that side of him.
Mm-hmm.
And he also seems to have moments where he's particular about like he doesn't like crime because he likes the city kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But when I say ex-Joker, it's probably just because he has the silly little makeup, like you said, the Kiss cosplay. But he does have moments of, like, laughing maniacally, and he seems to like kind of torturing people before he gets the revenge.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess if I, like, as an anti-hero, I would put him in the bucket of, like...
The Jigsaw Killer.
He's not that silly with his puzzles. More along the lines of... if there was like a longer moral and if it wasn't contained to like he just has to get revenge on these few people, it would be an interesting topic to talk about how revenge doesn't actually heal you at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because he is very like he's so focused on just taking care of his targets, and that he doesn't seem to actually like leave room for anything else as far as like justice wise. So I wouldn't really put much of a hero to him. He's only a hero in that the people he wants revenge on happen to be criminals.
Yeah.
I think if maybe you flip the story on its head and made it about like cops like harming him and his girlfriend for whatever reason, then people would just say he's kind of a villain because
especially at that time.
Especially at that time, because his focus would be individual targets. Yeah. So I don't think he's much of a hero other than circumstantially. He just happens to want to kill the bad guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sounds good. The only thing that I wanted to mention, because you mentioned the soundtrack of like, oh man, this sounds like what I listened to at that time. Mm-hmm. The soundtrack for The Invisible Boy, there's music. I was like, I remember I was just sitting there and I'm like, wait a second, I know this song. I had the album somewhere, and so it cracked me up where it was Ava Brothers, which I don't know how much people know who the Ava Brothers are, so but it was like,
you seem to surprise yourself that you recognize the song in an Italian film.
Yeah, well, like I wasn't expecting music I listened to in college to be there. They had a Gorillaz song in there, which it's the Clint Eastwood song. Yeah, but I was just like, I'm just sitting there and I'm like, wait, this song sounds familiar. And then it started singing. It's like, oh my goodness, this is like my favorite song by this group. And I was like, just singing, just dancing along. But it's like, I don't really think it fits for what the song is about, but I'm okay with it.
That is funny.
But what we're also okay with is spinning that wheel.
Yes. So let me go ahead and start recording it as my... Wait, let me fix my screen rather than you having to worry about it not making sense. Okay, full screen wheel, clicking the spin button. We have like 30 some options left. I think like 37 or so. And for next week, we have
dun, 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 dun.
the last movie of a series you never watched.
This sounds like a me prompt.
That sounds like a you prompt.
Let's find out.
God.
So
now I could watch an MCU movie.
You could. Yeah. There is no... So could I. Yeah, this will be fun. Oh, well, I got to do my research now. Oh, man, I can't watch the last Sharknado because I was forced to watch the first two. I was thinking, I'm like, man, it's a little too late, but it would be really funny to switch one of our prompts just from Sharktopus to be like, must have shark in the title.
That would be funny.
Which, by the way, I'm reading through. This just reminded me. I'm reading through the. I almost said Hitchhiker's Guide. I already did that. Dungeon Crawler Carl series, and in the book, they're like, here's this creature that's there. It's a shark and an octopus, and it's like we would call it an octo shark, but that would get us in legal trouble with the Octomom. And I'm like, that's a reference I haven't heard of, but you are literally calling it Sharktopus, which is another property. So it was like, what came first? Which that would be very easy to tell. I think it was the what we did a series on. But yeah, I know what I'm doing for the rest of the night is trying to find
research.
Yeah, just poking around and all that stuff. But thank you everyone for watching. We made it within our time constraints, so nothing is reset and nothing changes except for what we have to watch. So thank you everyone, and until next time, we will talk to you all later. Bye-bye.